My name is Allan Jackson of Big Head Books.
And my name is Eddie Taylor of Big Head Books.
Big Head Books is a literacy foundation. It actually started out as a publishing company, but once we really got out into the literary world, we really discovered the lack of promoting literacy in this country, specifically targeting children of color. So we really changed our mission greatly in the short period of time that we've been around. And it was really all started as a question from my son when I was in corporate sales in a completely different line of work. That question led me to create this book that teaches children about financial literacy, titled Danny Dollar, Millionaire Extraordinaire. That book has been our foundation of this business and our flagship, and we're really, really proud of it and the things that Danny has done, and more importantly, the inspiration Danny has given to millions of kids to dream big and to think about their future. But since we got out into the literary world promoting our book, we discovered the lack of literacy being promoted, and also discovering the connection between illiteracy and crime in this country, and discovering that 75% of all juveniles who go through this judicial system are functionally illiterate. And when you compile that with 2 out of 3 children that cannot read proficiently by the 4th grade end up incarcerated. That tells you right there that children, when they can't read by a certain age, 75% of them go to jail. And that was the statistic that changed us from becoming a company of publishing books to a company promoting literacy. Nothing but challenges. There's nothing but issues. And let me explain why. Maybe I can ask you a question. Can you name a black children's author of color? All right, that's definitely a plus, and kudos to you for bringing literacy into your home and introducing it to your child. Unfortunately, the majority of people in this country can't name one. Books featuring children of color are not prominent in this country. They're just not prominent in mainstream literature. And that's very unfortunate, because we seem to have dominated almost every industry of entertainment there is, from music to film. The one thing that we don't have a great hold on is the literary world. And as I stated, by those statistics, it's vital. Reading and literacy is the lifeblood. It is really the foundation of success as an individual. If you can't read, you can't succeed. It really is just as simple as that. So it's very difficult, or it was difficult, or it continues to be difficult, to promote literacy in this way. When you're a person of color and you're putting books into the hands of children who aren't accustomed to that, it becomes foreign and different. And they're accustomed to seeing Harry Potter and Diary of a Wimpy Kid, and so when the mainstream literary world sees this book, Danny Dollar, with a black kid on the cover, it looks different. And books, for a lot of African American children, or children of color in general, when they see a book featuring them, it's not something they're accustomed to seeing. But we've been very fortunate that it's been very well received. People are getting it. And unfortunately, a lot of homes don't promote literacy in their homes. So, they're quick to get that mixtape before they're quick to get that chapter book. So we really have been more focused on making that, combining the two, and say, we want reading to be the new hip-hop. We want it to be that new form of entertainment that hits the mainstream and that people go crazy over. So we've kind of had to find our own niche and kind of use elements of hip-hop and use the way that hip-hop was created as a way to promote literacy. Like I said, we're pushing books, not mixtapes. But it's the same format and same direction, just with a different tool.
Well, to be honest, I think Ty almost just said it, where, and the key word here is tool. I was out doing work, civic work, and social work, and mentoring programs and things like this with young men of color. And then when Ty first released Danny Dollar, it opened up my eyes, actually, to the simple fact that it stopped and made me think, how many times have I seen a book that had a black protagonist as the main character that didn't relate to oppression, overcoming, civil rights, so on and so forth.
Right.
It was just a little boy having an awesome adventure and an awesome story. You know, that the hidden jewel being that it was teaching financial literacy was a bonus. It was just a plus. But the fact that I was looking at this book that reflected myself, reflected my children, and it had nothing to do with depression or misery or basketball or overcoming all these different things. It was just
rapping.
Yeah, exactly. There was nothing stereotypical about there being a black protagonist on the cover of this book, and that alone was mind-blowing for me. So then it was just a simple catch my breath, get over the shock and awe of this book, and realize, wait a minute, this is an awesome tool that we should be utilizing in every aspect of programming in the urban community, period. Like, what better tool do we have to unite? And one of the things that when Ty and I are in the prisons, we always remind people that it wasn't too long ago that this was illegal for us. This was punishable by capital punishment, death. You would be put to death for reading. So what is it about reading? There's something powerful that comes with being literate, that we have to pull the curtain back. And what better way than to utilize a tool that is universal and digestible for the entire world, basically? Because the cool thing I think about Ty's books, and what I always give him so many props for, is that they transcend the black community, which is totally unique. We have gone to hillbilly towns in Western Massachusetts and have broken records at book fairs for selling books to a community that looks nothing like us. So I think that's just, I had to be a part of that.
Yeah.
That's a really good question. I think the moment, I think certainly in the infancy stage, I think, first of all, we need to start reading to our children in the womb, first of all. So even before they're born, we need to create a new culture and lifestyle and start reading to our children immediately. Introducing them to the concept of money, I think the moment that you take them to the store for the first time, you need to introduce that system of bartering to your child. Even if they can't grasp it and understand it, the fact that you are giving something and getting something at the same time, it could start at 1, it could start at 2, it could start as early as possible. I think we take for granted how brilliant children are at an early stage and what they absorb. Let's not take that for granted, and why not introduce it to them early? Even if it's too early for them to get, when you continue to make it a habit, eventually they will get it, even before they can perhaps speak and communicate that they've got it. So I don't think there's such a thing as too early to introduce the concept of finance to your children. And as a sidebar to that, you need to be an example of that, and make sure that you have a healthy financial lifestyle in addition to a healthy dietary lifestyle. So these are all things, because my mother always said that children never listen to their parents, but they never fail to emulate them. So when your kid is watching you, and they're seeing everything it is that you do. So you really need to have a healthy lifestyle, especially financially, because your kids are going to pick up on that.
And if I can add to that, it really starts at that piggy bank moment.
Yeah.
I call it the piggy bank moment.
Nice.
That moment, because that's one of those first little things that I remember my children receiving even at 1 year old. And maybe it came from an auntie, or it came from Graham, or it came from somebody like that. But they get that piggy bank. And once you get that piggy bank, now it's time to have that conversation.
Is deeper than hip-hop is systemic. Hip-hop is more than just what you see on the surface. It's, first of all, we like to use the analogy of hip-hop because it's something that we created from nothing. And not only did we create it from nothing, it's something that was actually a defense mechanism for being heard. We weren't no one was paying attention to us. And it seemed like the rest of the world had these avenues and outlets where they could express themselves, be it through literature or media or whatever, and children of color didn't have that. So how resourceful was it to create this forum? Like Chuck D said, hip-hop is the CNN of Black America. You know, it's the way we express ourselves. So I understand exactly what it is that you're saying, but I think it's bigger than just the music you hear and the clothes that you see and the lifestyle that you wear. It's a movement. And I think that's what we're trying to capture and why we want to mimic hip-hop. We want to capture that movement of hip-hop, what it did for our culture. It made us heard. Like I said, please, I challenge you and your viewers to go to the bookstore and see if you can find a book of color. It will be for a preacher and a child of color as the protagonist. It's remarkably difficult. The same way that we weren't played on MTV for the first couple of years. The same way that we didn't have music that catered to us. So what did we do? We created it ourselves. And that's the lane that Big Head Books is trying to do. We're trying to create a movement of literacy and using hip hop as the guideline. This brilliant book that I read from guy named Jack Canfield said, "Success leaves clues." So, and I think that's remarkably brilliant, and that's exactly what we're trying to do. We don't have to recreate the wheel. We could take hip hop and use that as a blueprint on how to create this new movement of literacy.
And if I can, the teacher, KRS-One himself, says it all the time. Hip hop is not something you do. It's how we live. It's our culture. It's who we are. So the product of hip hop is annoying. I agree with you. The product, that is annoying. The culture, though, of hip hop is exactly what Ty is alluding to. It's our voice. It's who we are. It's who we become. It's our, and more importantly, if we want to reach this certain demographic, which is our children, we have to go where they are. We have to meet them where they are. This is the same situation. I can remember my mom having these conversations about jazz with me coming up, and how the culture of jazz and what that meant for them as a community, not just the music and what you're hearing and the records that you're buying in the store, but what it meant to the people in Harlem as a community. And I think that hip hop has can have that same effect if we allow it to, and not be sold as a product.
Yes. It came out of a necessity. It came out of adversity. Believe me, I tried to go the traditional route and get my manuscript published after I wrote it. So I approached 150 different agencies to see if they would present it to a publishing company to create this book. So out of 150 requests, I got 150 rejections.
Wow.
So every single person rejected me for some form or another. And I decided I had one of two options of either discarding this idea or figuring out how to do it myself. So with myself and my team, we sat down and we figured out how do you publish a book. And it took us a good year and a half to get it done. But the result was this amazing book titled Danny Dollar that is a great chapter book and teaches children about the importance of financial literacy. Since then, it's been used by Google for Entrepreneurs to teach children about the importance of entrepreneurship. It's also been featured as a serial story running 15 weeks last year. Every week is a full-page chapter in the New England newspapers, reaching about 4 million subscribers a week. So, and that came out of the adversity of getting 150 rejections. So if I could give anything, I'm sorry?
Carver.
And I'm sorry, and it also, I apologize, the first win of Danny Dollar was that Carver Bank, which is the largest black-owned bank in the country, purchased 1,000 copies and used it as a tool to get kids to open up bank accounts. So that came from 150 rejections. Yes. So if your listeners can take away anything, I like to say if they believe in themselves, if they have conviction in what it is that they're doing is just and right, let no amount of rejections deter you from your path. Because if you believe in yourself, then there are people out there who believe in you as well. And I know that you can accomplish great things because we are.
Yeah, it comes down to a conscious decision. And you have to understand that when you make a decision to help others, it comes at a price. And there's going to be sacrifices that have to be made. So one lesson that I learned from Ty after partnering with Ty, and we'll actually slide a little credit over to Steve Jobs for this, is that sometimes when you're doing something in this world, it has to be about the why, not the what. And what Ty and I have found is that, you know, the books are the what, but why Ty wrote the books and why we promote literacy is what makes us special. It's what makes us different. It's what makes us viable to our community, and hopefully beneficial to these kids who are coming behind us. It's about the why. We're not just out here, like we use the analogy of a mixtape. We're not just popping the trunk and selling books. You know, we go to elementary schools and we do full-on Run DMC, a la PowerPoint presentations of why you need to get excited about reading. And what is it why is it so important and so valuable to your life? And we lead these kids, it's like a full-on pep rally. Like you think they're going to the state championship by the time we're done. And that's the awesomeness of living in the why and living for the why. Why are we doing this? And this all alludes back to what we were telling you earlier about the statistics. And that's what it comes down to. At the end of the day, people, if 2/3 of our children are going to end up incarcerated or impoverished at best, due to a lack of literacy, we have to start there.
Well, he stole my thunder, so that's the why thing is mine, but that's okay. I'm gonna let him hold that. That's fine. But I will say this about the what, because you know, without the what, I think the why you do what you do is remarkably important. In fact, most businesses can't tell you why they do what they do. Ask McDonald's what they do, they can tell you. Ask them why they do it, they might have a problem. So, because they would give you a better what if that was the case. But anyway, I think one of the things I've always said is that I can patronize any business. I can give my dollars to any restaurant, to any service, to any industry. But why do I give it to the ones that I give it to? It's because they're unique, because they speak to me, and they give me respect. So I think that's really important. I think that's important to the integrity of our products. In addition to the why we do what we do, our products, although they feature a child of color, they're not for children of color. They're for all children. And it doesn't go to insult anyone else. It's not for you. It's for us. So I think that's really important. And for anyone trying to get out there in the market, the moment that you just say, I'm going to write a book for blacks, I'm going to write a book just for women, I'm going to write a book, well, then you're alienating everyone else. And so it has to be more inclusive. And I think that's one of the power of why we've been successful, because our books speak to everyone. And I think that's remarkably important. So tell your viewers, you know, they need to think broader when they're, you know, and it's okay to have a niche. Niches are fine, but there's a way to circumvent that and make it more universal. Well, we are on every social media page, from Twitter to Facebook to Pinterest to Instagram. I'm sure there's more. Just put in a tag, Big Head Books. But most importantly, you can find us on our website, which is a great website. It's bigheadbooks.com, and that is the main way that you can get in touch with us, whether it's to purchase our books, whether it's to have Eddie and I come to your school or organization. We even go to correctional facilities to teach children or teach incarcerated parents about the importance of literacy, and that trickles down to their children to hopefully sever that cycle of incarceration. We were talking about the statistics earlier. So social media, websites, yell out the window. We'll do what you got to do. We'll be the superheroes to come and hopefully save the day.
Well, and if I can ask really quickly of your viewers, if we can ask something really quick of your viewers, please help support us. And that's just if you're really moved by the work that we're doing, tell someone. You know, tell your school district, tell your superintendents, tell your sheriffs, tell anybody that you can to let people know, because we always hear like, oh, well, how shocked people are by the product that, oh, this will be great in the urban community. Oh, I know a perfect community for this. But it's like, how come people aren't hearing about this? How come every bank is not using Danny Dollar in any major metropolis right now to get kids to open up bank accounts? So we could really use your help and support from our own community starting first. And we thank and love you guys. Thank you.